Hey everybody, welcome to today's video. We're going to have a webinar on the written plan guidelines for the Arkansas Governor's Cup. This year, if you didn't know, it is going to be the 25th year for the Governor's Cup. That is 25 whole years of one of the best collegiate business plan competitions in the country. And I don't know if you know this, but there is a prize pool up for grabs of $136,000 that's up for grabs. So this video today, we're going to be talking all about the written plan guidelines. Follow along. We've got topics of discussion we'll talk through today. We're going to talk a lot about round one with the written plan. We'll talk about the Governor's Cup as well and some of the details of that. Hope you enjoy this video. And with that, we will get straight into our topics. Our topics of discussion today, I want to give a brief introduction of myself. My name is LB Hudson. I'll be leading you through this video today. I'm a local entrepreneur here in Little Rock, Arkansas. I love all things about the Arkansas Governor's Cup, being able to help any way that I can. Today, I'm helping with a written plan webinar. I have a company called My Financial Snapshot. We're a financial software company, has a suite of financial products. Primarily, we help small businesses keep track of their income and expenses with something called a side hustle tool. I also do some part-time work with Goldman Sachs and their 10,000 Small Businesses program. I'm a lead faculty for that program. And part of the work I do with that is we help small businesses in different states be able to grow their revenues and grow their employee base over a 12-week program. Some of our topics of discussion today are going to be what is the Arkansas Governor's Cup? We'll go through the different rounds, the different divisions, and the prize pool. We're going to talk about what is a business plan from a standard definition. We're going to talk about what is a business plan for the Arkansas Governor's Cup. We're going to go into a lot of detail on that. The prime detail of that will be what is round one, the written plan. Content. What is all of the content that encompasses a written plan for the Arkansas Governor's Cup? We're also going to talk about your plan submission. And then at the very end of this video, I will have some helpful tips and some things to keep in mind as you are completing your written plan and getting ready to submit for round one of the competition. With that, we're going to talk about what is the Arkansas Governor's Cup. So what exactly is the Arkansas Governor's Cup? If you're from Arkansas with a college or university in state, you've probably heard of this before through your business school. If you're from an out-of-state university, just want to define this a little bit more for you, exactly what it is. As I've stated previously, this is the 25th year of this business plan competition, and I've got the definition of the Governor's Cup up here for us to view, but I love some of the things that are highlighted out of this. The Governor's Cup is a real world entrepreneur education opportunity for college and university students to gain a greater appreciation of the challenges and opportunities of starting a viable business. And I'll stop there. That's a great definition, and it is a real world experience, right? The formulation of this from your written plan, if you make it to round 2 and 3 of the competition, it is a real world experience. Also, the second bullet point right there, one of the things that makes this competition very unique is a very large prize pool and multiple opportunities to be able to win cash prizes. The cash prize is over $136,000 for this year's competition. Next, we're going to talk about a couple more things within the Governor's Cup, the divisions, the different divisional breakouts, as well as the prize pool. So what are the divisions for the Arkansas Governor's Cup? There's 2 divisions, okay? There's simply 2 divisions that you can enter in to win. There's the high growth and technology division. We see that defined on the screen. That is potentially disruptive market impact with strong viability and a high potential for growth. Okay, so that is the definition for what goes into the high growth and technology division. So keep that in mind whenever you're submitting your application of one of the 2 divisions that you want to submit to. We're going to talk more about the breakout of those in a minute, but we've also got the small business and lifestyle division. We've got that definition as well up on the screen, but we're thinking of Main Street businesses, businesses that may not have as much scale as a certain business. right? So you're going to have to think about which division you want to enter into that's going to give you the best chance to advance from round one to round two. And that's the breakout of the two divisions. And next, we're going to look at the different divisional tracks. So what are the divisional tracks and how do we make sense of that? We've got the high growth and technology division, as well as the small business and lifestyle division. Under the high growth and technology division, there are two tracks. All right. And I've got those stated for you. Track one is Arkansas undergraduate students. All right. So you have to be a college or university from Arkansas and an undergrad for that track. That has its own prize pool that we'll talk about in a second. Track two is for graduate students from Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas, Oklahoma, and Tennessee. I think I got all the states covered there. So track one, undergraduate students from Arkansas, and then track two of the high growth and technology division will be graduate students from Arkansas and the surrounding states. The small business and lifestyle division has one track. So that means it also has one prize pool for that. And that is undergraduate and graduate students from Arkansas and then the surrounding states. So I hope that makes sense. Next, we're going to talk about the judging rounds, and very quickly, we'll be getting into the written plan competition. So discussing the judging rounds, round one is our emphasis for today, and that is the written plan. But up to 10 teams from each track will be invited to compete in round two, which is the oral semifinal round. All right, so be prepared for that. That is new this year, a semifinal oral round. That is round two, and then round three is the oral presentation in April of next year. Also, another judging round will be the elevator pitch. So if you make it to round three, you'll also be able to compete in the elevator pitch. But we're talking about round one and the written plan today. The prize pools, I've got the prize pools for each division labeled here. The high growth and technology division has two different tracks. So track one, which is undergraduate students from Arkansas, the first place winner of that track will win $20,000. And then in track two, the graduate division for that track underneath the high growth and technology division will also win $20,000. All right. So first, second, and third place for track one, and a first, second, and third place for track two. And the small business Main Street division, right? This lifestyle division that we have, there's one prize pool. So undergraduate and graduate students are all competing for first place there. So that is one track under that division, and that first place prize is for $10,000. There is also, just for being a finalist, so if you make it past round one and you make it past the round two semifinal oral round, you get a $1,500 cash prize just for making it to round three. All right, and that's what that finalist number means. And with that, we're going to talk about what is a business plan. I really wanted to overachieve here with talking about what is a business plan with just a very standard definition. Pulled this definition off of the lovely Investopedia.com. But a business plan, a document that outlines a company's goals and strategies to achieve them. It is valuable for both startups and established companies. For startups, a well-crafted business plan is crucial for attracting potential lenders and investors. Established businesses use business plans to stay on track and align themselves with their growth objectives. A great definition for us, but a business plan, a document that outlines a company's goals and strategies to achieve them. So keep this definition in mind as you are completing your written plan, as you are getting ready for round two and round three. You notice that it said that this is for both startups and for existing operational businesses. When we talk about this real world aspect of it, There are many businesses right when you're starting up, you want to kind of have this business plan idea, be ready to formulate it in your head, but also be able to get it on paper like we're doing with the written plan. But keep in mind that this is not something that goes away. Whether or not you start a business after college or into your adult years, you might be an employee for a business first, and you might even have the opportunity to work and lend your expertise to a business plan in the future for a friend, for somebody that you work for. So that is a little bit of these real world applications coming through this competition that will eventually pay dividends for you in the future. So let's talk next about the written plan round one and look at some of the guidelines. All right, this is going to begin our segment of what is a business plan for the Arkansas Governor's Cup. And the way that we break that out is we look at the written plan guidelines for the competition, and those are broken out into three different segments for you. That's broken out into the formatting of the plan. We're going to talk about that and why that is important. We're going to look at the content of your plan. That is the bulk of it. That is 99% of what you need to focus on is the content of that plan. And then we're going to look very briefly at the plan submission guidelines and how to do that, as well as the dates and deadlines for that. So let's look at the formatting guidelines. For formatting guidelines, one of the most common and popular questions that you're going to ask and that we get is, how long and how many pages should my written plan be? Well, I'm going to make it really simple for you. Your cover page should be 1 page. That's 1 page max. You should have a table of contents as your second page, and that should also be 1 page max. Your business plan itself should fit onto 10 pages max. So not 11 and not 12, just 10 pages max. And then your appendices, you can have 6 pages max. So not 7, not 8, 6 max. And we're going to look at what should be in those. You should have some appendices pages ready and prepared to go into your plan. So we've got the total. It's 1 plus 1 plus 10 plus 6, 18 pages max. So whenever you print or download your plan to a PDF, that should not read 19, 20, 30 pages. It should read 18 pages maximum. And we're going to talk about why it matters. You'll see in the written plan guidelines the long list of rules and instructions for that, all the different formatting guidelines, right? The indentions of the margins, right? 1 inch on each side, the 1.5 time line spacing for the text that goes into that, right? The paragraphical information that's a part of that. And it can get a little down in the weeds on that, and it's often overlooked. And I want to talk about a little bit why it matters. It matters, and this is also in the helpful tips at the end. So I just wanted to bump this up. But you have to think about your audience, right? And this is a competition, and these are competition guidelines. And the real world aspects of this are going to be whenever you graduate college and get into the real world of submitting loan applications for buying your first house or maybe a first car, different applications and guidelines at your first job or the first business that you start with. Maybe you're applying for an SBA loan or some other type of a loan for your business that's got all of these different guidelines. It's overlooked. It seems like it's not important, but you should follow those because your primary audience for this is going to be the judges, because the judges decide if you go to round two, and then the round two judges will decide if you go to round three. So when you're thinking of that, think about what the judges want to look at, because they're not just looking at your business plan. They are going to be looking at up to 10 or even more different business plans. And for those to all look the same and have the same format helps them to be able to read through the entirety of your plan, to have that kind of baseline structure of what they're looking at. If you scrunch your words together and don't use that 1.5 times line spacing, it can be difficult to read. If your margins aren't correct, it might look a little bit odd right? It's like, wait, why does this look different, so much different than the other ones? So just keep that in mind. That's a little bit about why the formatting matters. And we're going to get into the most important piece of this, and that is the content of your written plan. Content, content, content. The content that goes in to your written plan for the Arkansas Governor's Cup, very important. You'll see there's 13 different content guidelines, things that you should be looking for to add to your plan. But again, that audience is very important. The judges, they are looking at the same content that you were looking for. There are weights to what is considered behind that content as well. So you should really focus on what are those 13 points, how are they viewed by your audience, and how is it going to make the most effective and efficient business plan that you can possibly make in order to get from round one to round two. So let's look at those 13 content guidelines of a written plan. The content guidelines and the content that should make up the written plan. Here are your 13 categories, if you will. Cover page and table of contents. It's page one and page two. The simplest and easiest thing that you'll do should be putting those two together. But we're going to talk about all 13 of these in this video. We're going to break them down, look at the specific text in which the Governor's Cup instructs you on how to do that, and give you some insight into how to interpret that and to set yourself up for success. The first thing we're going to talk about is the cover page. Your cover page should include 4 different things. That should include the name of your company, should include the name of your school, should include the name of your team members, as well as the name of the advisors on your team. So those are the 4 things that should absolutely be included. Helpful hint, having a logo on that cover page is a really great way to stand out, right? What is your brand? How is your company going to be represented from a branding standpoint with that logo? Great thing to add, because that cover page, that's page one. That's the first thing any of your audience is going to see out of that. So be sure to have all 4 of those things, absolutely. But you can definitely stand out with your business plan by including a logo and then the branding that's associated with your business plan. The table of contents, your table of contents should be 1 page maximum, but your table of contents should reflect the content that's provided in your written plan. Okay, the content of your written plan are those 13 points, those 13 pieces of information. And it's really 12 because overall effectiveness is determined by the judges. They're not going to look at that. You shouldn't have a paragraph for that, but overall effectiveness not being one. So make sure and double check that your table of contents lines up with your plan. All right. So if your go-to-market strategy, if you say it's on page 7 of that plan, make sure your table of contents lines up and be sure that you double check that. Let's talk about the executive summary of your written plan. The executive summary for your written plan. This is a 1.5 to a 2-page segment of your written plan. Let's look at the guidelines provided behind this. There's 6 different things that you should be sure to address in your executive summary. Again, this is 1.5 to 2 pages long. So a lot of things that you want to describe. You want to be able to fit everything into that framework. And you want to make sure that you hit that 1.5 page of length. But point 1, it should be 1 to 2 paragraph description of the problem being solved and the proposed solution. All right. So what problem are you solving? What is your product or service? And what is the problem that it's solving? You should explain how the product or service works. All right. Be sure to explain that, include the details of that in the executive summary. Describe your customer, your value proposition, and your customer validation process. How did you figure out that that person was a customer? You should explain why you're better than your competitor. All right. Why are you better than the next option that's available? what's unique to you, what's unique to your business plan. Explain why your management team is prepared to make this business a success. You should also explain some in your executive summary of how this is a financially viable business. How is this going to make money? How are you going to achieve a return on investment for your shareholders? Your executive summary, this is going to be the first segment of your plan that a judge reads in detail, but it should be the last thing that you finalize in your written plan. All right. So it really, in some cases, it should be the last thing that you do of these 13 points and the 12 points that go into the plan. All right. So think about that. It's really tempting to want to just go line by line on those and think we know what our product is. We kind of have an idea. We're going to do a rough draft of our executive summary. I would encourage you to think about doing that later on. If you want to go ahead and get a rough draft of that started of your executive summary as you're going through the other sections of the written plan, do that, please. But also remember that you want to be sure to make multiple revisions of that executive summary in order to make it to round two. And we're going to talk about the problem. All right. What problem are you solving and how that is weighted and what the guidelines are behind the problem of your written plan. The problem, what problem are you solving? What is your solution to the problem that is out there in the market? What void are you filling? We got 3 different points to look at with a problem and things that we're going to be looking at in your written plan that should be addressed in the problem section of that plan. What's the specific problem or need, or what specific problem or need does your product or service address? All right. So keyword there, specific, expand, expound on what that problem is. Tell me why. All right. Tell me why it's a problem and why you are the product or service to meet that problem. Can you provide data on the current market size, the growth rate, and the potential for expansion? All right. Definitely our high growth technology division. It's a really good bullet point for you, right? What is the size of that market? What is the potential? How big could your business be if you are the solution, if you're able to attain a material market share of that space? Were there any prior attempts to solving the problem and why didn't they work? It's a phrase that's used, there's nothing new under the sun, kind of like all ideas have been thought of. It's hard to come up with these ideas, right? But you might have a very unique solution. You might have a spin on something that's been attempted before. Tell us why. All right. It's okay to acknowledge your competition. It's okay to acknowledge things that have failed before. That is part of doing business. You should know who your competitors are and you should be ready to address them. So think about the problem through that lens. Those are the 3 things that we're looking for with a problem. And with every problem, there's a solution. So we're going to talk about your solution next. So how, why, and what is your product or service the solution in your business plan? There's 5 points that we're going to look at in this section. The very first one, what is your solution to the problem? All right. Explain that solution. Explain why it's going to work. Explain what it is. Also, key features and benefits of your product or service. It's your chance to brag about what you're doing, right? What are the key benefits? What's the key feature that you're providing? Who are your competitors and what is your competitive advantage? How do you have an edge over existing businesses that you will be directly competing with? What's your unique value proposition? All right. Key frame or key word there, unique. What's a unique value proposition for your customer? All right. What are you providing them that others are not? And number 5, the current state of development. Be sure to include number 5. Very important that you do this. Number 5, it's okay if this is not something you plan to do. This is a business plan competition. This is not a this business needs to come to life competition, right? We hope that these businesses come to life. That's awesome. Would be awesome to see the success story of that. It's okay to say, hey, we're patent pending, or we're looking for a provisional patent, or we're in the development stage. Just be sure to address that. Point number 5 in the solution. Up, we've got customers and idea validation. All right. There's 5 points on this. We're going to go over the first 3, then we'll look at point 4 and 5. Very important segment for you to remember to be specific on. And our first point is, who are your specific customers? The key word there, specific. Tell me who your customer is in depth. All right. What are their interests? What is the age brackets that you are targeting? What are the demographics behind your customer? You may have heard in a marketing class before, avatars. What's your customer avatar? What's your customer persona, right? Dig deep, be specific in that. Initial assumptions, all right, that gave market acceptance. What were your initial assumptions, right? And how did those progress over time? What activities did your team conduct with potential customers to validate these assumptions? All right. I've seen in recent years, y'all have college students at your disposal, right, to be able to survey them, but are they your customer? All right. You might have a product that might be better for elderly people, right? It could be a health and services type product. All right. Go survey that customer, right? Conduct interviews, get surveys, do presentations. Have you tested your prototype? Do you have a physical product? Do you have a mock-up of that, right? Even if it's supposed to be a physical product, have you done it digitally, right? Go the next step on that. Those are the first 3 points, and we'll look at point 4 and 5 of customers and idea validation. Point 4 and 5. Point 4, were your assumptions on target based on the results and feedback from these activities? That's a continuation of point 3. Were they on target, right? If yes, explain, all right? If no, how did you pivot, right? What made you get to the conclusion that this was still a good idea? And what strategies did you change and why? And then point 5, really love this point. What did you learn from the validation process? Going through validating your customer. What did you learn? All right. Tell us why you went and chose to do what you did, and what were the results. Be sure to explain that in your customers and idea validation segment. And then very next, we're going to go over your go-to-market strategy. We've got 3 points that need to be addressed in the go-to-market strategy. Point number 1, how will you make and or deliver your product and service? How is this going to be accomplished? Tell us why. Tell us how, okay, that you are going to make your product or service come to life. Point number 2, how will you promote and market your product or service? What marketing channels are you going to use? Are you going to use traditional media? Are you going to use digital advertising? Are you going to use word of mouth strategies? All right. Think these through, expand on them, and be detailed about that. And then number 3, who will be your key partners? Do you have to source to a third party to get this product made? All right. Do you need to use a marketing agency to help you promote and advertise this product? Who are your key partners in your business? You may even think of strategic partners in your business. The summary of this go-to-market strategy is the who, what, where, when, and why your product is going to go from ideation to conceptualization to real market validated product. All right. So think through that in the go-to-market strategy. And then next up, we're going to talk about you and the management team behind your product. The management team of your business, right? The management team that should be included in your business plan, who you are. All right. That's what we're talking about. Got 3 points for you to consider on this. Who are you? What's your background and qualifications of the team members? All right. How does your experience align with your business's needs? What are the responsibilities? How are you going to divide labor up? All right. Very common theme that we see is we see a CEO, a CFO, a COO. Okay. Think about the division and the responsibilities of your company. All right. What are your strengths and who should fill those? On the opposite side of strengths, are there any gaps? All right. You might think that this is a weakness, right? What's a form of um, working capital that you need that you do not have? All right. And what's your plan to fill the gaps? That is completely okay. I want to talk uh, on this section to our college students, um, maybe a little bit more to our undergraduate college students. Judges, your audience, the judges, the people in this competition, we know that you're in college. That's okay. But you hopefully have work experience, right? Maybe you've worked summer jobs before. Maybe you're involved in extracurricular activities at your college, right? Are you in student government? Are you in Greek life? Are you in all of the different things that go um, into college life, right? Lean on those, okay? Tell us what you've done. Okay. That's okay. We want to read those. One, judges just like to get to know who the college students are as well, right? Who's competing and what you've done, as well as what you want to do in life. All right. So keep that in mind on your management team and brag yourself, talk yourself up. You are the person to make this product or this service a reality. All right. And with that, we're going to get into one of my favorite segments, and that is the summary financial information. Let's talk about risk and more specifically critical risk behind business, and that will go into your business plan. This one, there's only one point to remember. What's the most significant risk that could impact your business, and what measures have you taken to mitigate them? Business is risk, all right? Do not let risk overwhelm you, especially when you're looking at the opportunity behind your business. But you want to know your risk. You want to identify them, and you want to know how to mitigate them. So, how do you plan to either diminish your exposure to risk? Okay. And then think of multiple risks that you have. All right. And these are known risks, right? This could be low barrier to entry. Somebody could emulate or copy my product, right? Maybe you have a product or a service and you don't know if it's like patentable, all right? Maybe it's intellectual property. Maybe it's a physical good that you don't think you can get a patent on, all right? These are risk to your business, all right? Another risk, a financial risk. It's not going to take us a lot of money to start this business, and somebody else could do it as well. Okay. So think through those risks, identify those risks, list those risks in the critical risk section of the business plan. And then we're going to get into summary financial information next. Summary financial information. I want to be clear on this. This is a summary of your financial information. These are not your financial statements, okay? We're going to talk about those. Those go in the appendices. In terms of the order that you should complete things, it would be my suggestion, helpful tip of the day for you to complete your summary financial information after you have completed your financial statements that need to go into the plan. But there's three things to remember here. In your summary financial information, you want to make sure that you list out what your revenue projections are for the next 3 to 5 years and the assumptions behind those revenue numbers. Can you outline your expenses? Okay. Especially your operating costs, and look at your expenses from what costs the most, right? What is material in that aspect. And then number three, funding strategy. Okay. How much capital is it going to take for this business to get off of the ground? Do you want to use equity financing? Do you want to use debt financing? All right. What is the structure of that? And how much funds will you need? And will you need more than one round of funding over 3 to 5 years? That is your summary financial information. And be sure to list out those assumptions that are based and reflected in your financial statements. Thinking of your financial statements, again, helpful tip. Does your summary financial information match your financial statements? Okay. So in your summary financial information, if you say in year 3, we're going to have $500,000 of revenue, in year 3 on your income statement, your revenue should say $500,000. Okay. So be sure to double and triple check that your numbers match there, and be sure that your numbers match and are reflected across your plan. Okay. So your go-to-market strategy, how are you going to promote and market your product? All right. How much money is that going to cost? If you say that you're going to have a digital marketing strategy and you're going to spend money on digital ads, it should be reflected in your financials, and it should be reflected in your summary financial information as well. That is just a helpful tip for you. And then we're going to get into the exit strategy section of the business plan. The exit strategy section, this is for the high growth technology division only. If you're in the small business lifestyle Main Street division, you can include an exit strategy. That's okay. It's not a requirement, but think about setting yourself apart from the competition. It's a good idea to have an exit strategy. 2 points that we're looking for: the amount of the investment you are seeking and the proposed deal structure. Okay, so what type of corporate structure will you have? Will you be a corporation? Will you be a partnership? Okay, will you be an LLC? Think of these things in that. Think through what you are offering in exchange for that investment, right? I want to raise $1 million for 20% of this company, whatever that may be. That should be in your exit strategy, but you also want to explain and expound on the potential return on investment. When you're thinking of your potential return on investment, it's good to have multiple scenarios. Okay. What's a best case scenario? If we hit all of our objectives, this is what's going to happen. What's your worst case scenario? Which I suppose your worst case scenario would probably be that you go out of business, right? And then what's maybe a middle ground scenario? Those are good things to think about in that exit strategy. Again, if you're in the high growth technology division, you have to have an exit strategy. If you do not have to have one if you're in the small business and lifestyle division. All right. And with that, we're going to look at appendices next. The appendices of your business plan, okay? Maximum 6 pages, okay? But there's some things that you should include, and that's mainly point number 1, okay? This is 3 to 5 years of detailed income statements that also include information on the cash flow of your business. So what are the 3 core financial statements that are in a business? That's an income statement, that's a statement of cash flow, or a cash flow statement. And then the third is a balance sheet, okay? While that is not in these specific guidelines, helpful tip for you: include a balance sheet, go above and beyond, okay? If you can fit that into your appendices, that's great to have a 3 to 5 year forward-looking balance sheet of your business as well. Any applicable information on intellectual property may include the status of patents and licenses, okay? So include those, and then any other additional information referred to the plan. This is your ability to create, to stand out in your plan, okay? Very common and very popular to see maybe a website, right? You have access to technology to go make a Wix site or to go make a site even on Canva, okay? So look at that, stand out. How are you going to bring this to life? It's always really exciting to be able to see product mock-ups, service mock-ups of how you're going to get that done, and your branding as well. So keep that in mind for your appendices. One more thing on the appendices. Do your financial statements reflect the contents of your written business plan? Alluded to this a little bit earlier in the video, but this is where I see a lot of business plans fall short, okay? It might not be a strong area for you. I would encourage, if you don't have an accounting person on your team, to get an accounting person on your team, or to go to your business department and find the accounting students to get them to help you with the financial statements of your plan. as well as taking those numbers and scattering them throughout the other sections of your plan. Okay. You got to think again, helpful tip. Your audience are judges. Okay. A lot of judges, you have CPAs and accountants, even some CFOs are judges, bankers, people who are very well versed in the reading of financial statements. And when they see a financial statement that's just not complete, or a balance sheet that might not balance, or retain earnings that doesn't roll year over year, all right, that's something that can prevent you from going to the next round if you're kind of neck and neck with another business plan who might have better financials. Okay, so just keep that in mind. That's the helpful tip on the appendix. The last bullet point of the content section of your plan is overall effectiveness. The last section, the last bullet point is overall effectiveness. This is not a section in your plan. You don't need to type anything out that's included in your PDF. All right. This is just the last thing for you to remember. There's 3 points here. Did you include all of the necessary topics? Okay, that would be the 12 things prior to this, with the last one being those appendices. The topics were explained and persuasive, right? And did you do that in a clear manner? All right. So think through that. Then lastly on this is, was the story compelling? Okay. And this is where a good point to go and double check and review that you have an effective and compelling story that you're telling. All right. Yes, you've got to include a lot of information and got to do a lot of research behind this, but did you use your own voice? Did you tell a story behind your product or service that's going into your business plan? That is overall effectiveness, and that wraps the content section of round one written plan. We're going to look at some of the plan submission dates next. Plan submission dates. Okay, there's 2 dates to keep in mind. December 2nd of 2024, that is when UNoodle will be open for applications. If you are ahead of the game and have your plan ready and done by December 2nd, go ahead and submit it. But you have almost 2 full months from the date that applications open until the date that applications close. And probably the more important date is definitely this January 31st of 2025. Keep that date in mind, and there's a time on that. That is 4:59 on January the 31st of 2025. And 4:59 applications will cut off from UNoodle. Okay, that's the deadline to submit your round one business plan. So keep those in mind, put that on your calendar, and plan accordingly that you can get through all of those sections and have a really excellent round one business plan so that you can advance to round two of the business plan competition. And then we're going to talk about some helpful tips. The last thing I want to talk about on this video is just some helpful tips. These are just some of the things that I've seen from judging the business plan competition for several years, as well as things I see in business plans from small business owners and large business owners alike. Things for you to keep in mind to make sure that you can make it all the way to round three for the big ceremony in Little Rock, Arkansas next April. We would love to see so many college students there represented across multiple universities and colleges. But your audience matters. I've talked about this prior. Your audience, and more specifically, the judges of the competition. So think about that, right? Think about what a judge might look at, because a judge is looking at what you are looking at. They are looking at those guidelines. Measure twice and cut once. So think through all the ideas that you can, right? If you ever heard that adage, I'm probably aging myself a little bit there, but measure twice and cut once, right? So think through the ideas, think through the strengths and weaknesses of everything that you're putting into the plan. Have a game plan and execute on that. All right. So I mentioned, we got that all important date of January the 31st. That will be here before we know it. Don't waste your winter break. right? Be sure to game plan and execute on those sections accordingly. You might need to divide and conquer too, depending on who is on your team. Think through what order works best for you. I know I mentioned some things like, hey, do your executive summary last, complete your financials before you complete your summary financial information. Um, do what works best for you, okay? And get that goes along with that game plan and execute as well. Technology is your friend. You have access to technology at your college or university. I am almost sure of it. So be sure to utilize the technology that you can to get this plan done. We all know that there is our beloved ChatGPT. There is Canva for graphic design. There are all sorts of different tools and things that you can use. There are website generators. So technology is your friend. Utilize that to help you. Setting yourself apart, right? This is a competition. I know that sometimes this is a part of a class assignment, right? You might be in an entrepreneurial program at your college or university, but set yourself apart because there is, like I mentioned, that small business division, $10,000 first place prize. And in that high growth division, there are two tracks. So undergraduate students in Arkansas, a chance to win $20,000 on that first place prize. And then our graduate students in that high growth track as well have another chance to win that $20,000 first place prize. And then lastly, have fun with it. Use it as a learning opportunity. Have fun surveying and interviewing your customers. And we look forward to seeing all your written plans for round one and look forward to the semifinals and then ultimately the round three oral presentations next April. Thank you so much for watching this webinar. I know that Tiffany Henry is leading this ship. She does such a wonderful job. Reach out to her. She can get my contact information to you as well. If you have any further questions, I'd love to help you out in any way that I can. So thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing your written plans.